She said it with her back to me, swirling red wine in a glass like the stem was her scepter and I, some fumbling court jester. You could never get another woman, Dana said, loud enough that half the party turned their heads. I stood there, grinning like an idiot, holding a plate of shrimp skewers I'd just reheated for her guests. That was her power move, humiliation wrapped in faux jokes. Our relationship had become a stage where she performed her dominance, and I played along, pretending not to bleed. I laughed weakly. So did the others. The room felt too warm. Her friend Ashley giggled, then whispered something to Dana that made them both crack up harder. That hurt more than the words, the casualness of it. Like the idea of me being with someone else wasn't just funny, it was impossible. 3 years ago, I proposed to that woman on a rooftop under 1,000 fairy lights. I held her hand through 2 job losses, helped her mom through chemo, and now I was background noise at her party. A servant with a smile. I told myself I'd talk to her later, once the crowd thinned out. But that night, lying next to her in bed, the words sat like gravel on my chest. She didn't say sorry. She didn't even remember. And that's when I knew it wasn't a slip. It was a belief. A belief she'd had for months, maybe years. She didn't think I was enough. Maybe, if I'm honest, neither did I. The thing about a man's confidence is it doesn't disappear in a day. It erodes. Slowly. Softly. With every dig about my job, every eye roll when I spoke, every time she introduced me as the guy who fixes stuff around the house, and not as her husband. She used to be different. God, I remember when she'd trace circles on my palm and tell me she couldn't believe I chose her. Back when she'd wait up just to hear how my day went. Somewhere along the way, I stopped being the prize and became the placeholder. The next morning, I made eggs and toast like always. She scrolled through her phone the whole time, giggling at something she refused to share. When she left for yoga, I sat at the kitchen table for 2 hours, staring at the crumbs on her plate like they might spell out a reason. But instead of confronting her, I did something else. I made a phone call. To be clear, this wasn't about revenge. Not then. Not yet. This was about proving to myself that I wasn't invisible. The name that came to mind shocked even me. Rachel Marin. High school memory. The girl with ink-black hair and a mouth too fast for her teachers to catch. Dana hated her. Always had. There was history there. A shared crush, a school election, a prom night misunderstanding. The kind of teenage rivalry that simmers into adulthood like a wound that never scabs over. Rachel had moved to Chicago years ago. I only knew that because Dana used to check her Instagram to see how awful she looks now. Spoiler, she didn't. It took courage, or maybe just desperation, to find her email on an old alumni site and send a message. Subject line, "This is going to sound insane." I told her everything. Not all the dirty laundry, just enough. I said, "I don't know if you even remember me. I'm Dana's husband. Something happened the other night, and I guess I'm trying to remember who I used to be. Before her. Before all this. If you ever want to grab coffee and laugh about the wreckage of our 20s, let me know." I expected nothing. She replied the same day. And 2 weeks later, I was standing outside a little bookstore cafe, watching Rachel walk up in a leather jacket and a sarcastic smile that somehow felt like home. We talked for 2 hours. No flirting. No plan. Just stories. She remembered me. Called me the guy who built the best senior prank and never took credit. I didn't even know she noticed. She laughed like she meant it. She asked real questions and listened like I mattered. Afterward, I sat in my car with the windows down and realized I hadn't felt seen in years. And that's when the plan began. It wasn't about proving Dana wrong. It was about reminding myself I wasn't. The party invitation came 2 months later. Dana's best friend turning 35, big rented venue, open bar, formal dress code. Dana was buzzing for days, choosing outfits, planning speeches, hinting that I better not embarrass her with one of my social silences. She expected me to blend into the wallpaper again. She didn't know I had a +1, and she definitely didn't know who. When I told Rachel the idea, she just raised an eyebrow and said, "So, am I the grenade or the getaway car?" "Both," I said. The night of the party, I showed up 20 minutes late. Not by accident. I wanted eyes on us when we walked in. The room was mid-laughter, lights soft, chatter bouncing off crystal and marble. Dana stood near the back, laughing with a glass of white wine in hand, dressed in something black and sharp like she was a villainess in a spy movie. And then she saw me. Then us. Her face didn't change at first, She just blinked, lips parting slightly. But her hand? Her hand jerked. The wineglass tipped, spilled, splashing her dress and her friend's shoes. Gasps. Whispers. She looked down, then back up, her hand trembling. But it wasn't the drink she'd spilled. It was her composure. And before the night was over, it would be her secrets. She didn't move right away. Just stood there, blinking at the stains spreading across her dress like her body had forgotten how to function. Rachel, to her credit, didn't gloat. She didn't smile or toss her hair or do anything movie-worthy. She just touched my arm gently and whispered, "Should we go?" Like she didn't already know the answer. "No," I said, my voice low, steady. "We're just getting started." The crowd parted as we walked in. Not dramatically, this wasn't a movie, but enough to feel the shift. Enough to hear the murmurs. Some people knew me. Most didn't. But they knew Dana. And they knew when she looked like that. Rattled, rattling. We didn't go to her right away. That would have been too easy. Instead, Rachel and I made our rounds like we belonged there. She introduced herself when I didn't. She laughed at my stories like we'd shared them a dozen times. She touched my wrist when she talked, the kind of subtle intimacy Dana used to fake when the cameras were out. And Dana watched. Every step, every breath. I could feel her behind me, circling, calculating. Then, right on cue, she struck. She came over holding a fresh glass of wine, her dress damp but dried enough to pretend nothing happened. Her voice sugary sweet. "Oh my God, Rachel Marin? Is that really you?" Rachel turned, smile practiced, polite. "Dana. Wow. Been a long time." "Yeah," Dana said. "Since you got kicked out of prom for what was it again? Vaping in the girls' bathroom and flashing the DJ?" Rachel blinked once. "Right. And you cried in the bathroom because Caleb James slow danced with someone else. We all have our moments." I almost choked. Dana's smile thinned. "And what brings you here with?" She motioned to me like I was a lost pet. "My husband." Rachel's eyes flicked to mine, and in that moment I saw the kindness in her. She could have said something cruel, could have twisted the knife, but she didn't. She just said, "He invited me." And then, casually, like she didn't know the weight of it, told me you said he'd never get another woman. Dana's eyes darted. Someone nearby stifled a laugh. And just like that, the room turned. Not all at once, but enough. Enough that Dana's mask slipped, just a little. Enough that the moment hung heavy in the air, her words from that night, coming back to haunt her. She sipped her wine, composed herself, leaned in close like we were sharing secrets. "So, what, you two dating now? Or is this just his little revenge stunt?" I held her gaze. What would be more humiliating, if we were, or if this wasn't about you at all? That one landed. She stepped back. Rachel's voice was calm. "Don't worry, Dana. I didn't come to start anything. Just came to enjoy the party." But Dana couldn't let it go. She never could. Her voice sharpened. "Well, enjoy it while it lasts. If you knew what I knew, you'd be running in heels." Rachel tilted her head. "Try me." And Dana, whether out of spite or stupidity, started to talk. Started to unravel. "You think he's some innocent victim in all this?" she said, gesturing to me. "Please. You have no idea. He's not a victim. He's weak. He lets things happen to him. Just sinks. I begged him to fight for me. I wanted him to be more. But he just folded." Her voice cracked there. Just a little. And in that break, truth slipped through. "I kissed someone," she said. "Once. Maybe twice. But only because I thought he already gave up on me. He was always gone. Always tired. Always playing the martyr. He made me feel like I was the villain for wanting more." Silence followed. Not dramatic silence. Just that awkward, dense kind that follows when someone confesses to more than they meant to. Rachel nodded slowly. "So, just to recap, you said he could never get another woman, mocked him at a party, and now you're upset that he found someone who doesn't treat him like trash." Dana blinked, realizing. Too late. "I didn't mean," she started, but Rachel was already turning away. We walked to the far side of the room, people murmuring as we passed. I wasn't gloating. I wasn't smug. But for the first time in years, I felt seen. Rachel leaned close. "She's spiraling." "She always does," I said. But that wasn't the worst of it. Rachel raised an eyebrow. "Oh." I looked back. Dana was downing the rest of her wine, eyes darting like she was looking for an exit. "Not yet," I said. "The worst part's coming." Because I knew something she didn't. I had the texts. And in less than 10 minutes, the room would know them too. I didn't plan for the text to be public. Not at first. But when a woman stands in a room full of your peers and tells your high school crush that you were too weak to fight for her, after months of manipulation, gaslighting, and affairs, well, silence starts to feel like complicity. So, I chose not to be silent anymore. While Dana was sipping what had to be her third glass of wine, I stepped outside, pulled out my phone, and sent a message. Not to her. To Ashley, her best friend. The one who laughed loudest when Dana humiliated me at that first party. The same Ashley who, 2 years ago, sent me a series of late-night texts after Dana passed out drunk at a New Year's party. It wasn't flirtation. It was confession. She'd said, "You deserve better. If you ever saw the things she texts about you, you'd leave her before sunrise." That message came flooding back to me now. And as I stood beneath string lights strung between fake olive trees, I sent her a simple question. "Do you still have those screenshots?" Her reply was instant. "Yes." "You sure?" I was. A few minutes later, I re-entered the party, phone in hand. The Bluetooth speaker Dana had rented was still looping some ambient playlist. The crowd had settled into drunk clumps, laughter, dancing, the usual end-of-the-night haze. Rachel stood by the drink table, sipping soda, watching me. I gave her the smallest nod. She nodded back. And then I pressed play. Not music. Voice to text. My voice. Hooked to the speaker, echoing through the room like an accidental toast. "Hi everyone. Sorry to interrupt. I'd just like to read a quick excerpt from Dana's texts over the last few months. Let's start with this one, from a group chat with Ashley and Liz, February 18th. Sometimes I think he stays because he's too scared to start over. Not because he loves me. He's like a sad little plant I keep forgetting to water." There was a pause in the room. Then whispers. Shuffling feet. Dana's head whipped toward me. I continued. March 3rd. If he ever found out about Ethan, he'd probably just cry and write a poem about it. He's so boring it's almost impressive. Someone laughed. Nervously. Then silence. I ended it there. I didn't want to destroy her. I just wanted people to see what I'd been living with. Dana stood frozen, wine glass trembling in her hand, face pale beneath perfect makeup. "You bastard," she whispered. But she didn't deny it. And that mattered more than anything. I didn't say another word. Just walked past her, straight to the door, with Rachel following behind. She didn't need to ask what came next. We walked in silence to the car, the night cool and honest in a way nothing else had been for months. I opened her door, then paused before getting in. "You know," I said, "I didn't expect tonight to go like this." Rachel smiled softly. "Me neither. But I'm glad it did." "Why'd you say yes?" I asked. "To coming with me, I mean." She looked at me like it was obvious. "Because I remember who you were. Before her. And I figured, maybe he's still in there somewhere." I didn't know what to say to that. So I just nodded. And drove. We got milkshakes that night. Sat on the hood of my car and laughed about the dumbest things. Yearbook superlatives, broken vending machines, how she once got detention for drawing a caricature of our principal as a turnip. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like a person again. Not a victim. Not a shadow. Just a man. Free. Dana sent messages the next day. Angry ones. Apologetic ones. Denial, bargaining, guilt, the whole cycle. She said I ambushed her. Said I humiliated her. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Because she was wrong about something. I didn't show up to ruin her night. I showed up to reclaim my own. She thought I could never get another woman. She never imagined I could get myself back. And that, more than anything, is what really broke her.